couple of countries, have a couple of beers, and discuss a stadium or something sports related somewhere in the world and their experiences there. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And we're excited to be here with you tonight. Before we get started, please, I'm almost begging, make sure you subscribe to the Stadium Journey YouTube channel, like the video, and feel free to leave a comment. And to check out all of our fantastic content, visit our website, stadiumjourney.com. So let's get started. Dave, what are you drinking today?
So I have one today, totally different. I'm barely sure if it qualifies as beer or not, but it is from a brewery. It's from Collective Arts Brewery in Hamilton. And, you know, one of our family Christmas traditions, my mom insists on this, is
Tradition
mimosas.
and beer. I like where this is going. Anyway.
It's not beer, but she insists on mimosas, orange juice and champagne. It's a Christmas Day tradition in the Cottney house. Well, this is like as beerish as you could get. It is a daily forecast.
Oh, very reflective can you have.
Daily forecast mimosa. It's a mimosa style beer, and you got a big orange with.
So a mimosa style beer. What does it taste like when you drink it?
Orange juice. It tastes like a mimosa.
Nice.
So, yeah, surprise.
There you go.
What do you got?
Nice. We are not afraid to stretch the envelope with our drinking. All right, so we are reviewing a Canadian venue today. So I had to pull out a beer from my recent trip up to Canada. So on our stop in Ottawa, we stopped at Mill Street Brewing, which I later found out is a brewery company that has several locations. You said they have one in Toronto. I think they have one also in Montreal, if not more places. But we stopped in the Ottawa one. Seeing how we were in Ottawa, this kind of made sense. Nice location right there on the river, right near the waterfall. So I picked up here a Capital Kolsch. Nice picture of the Canadian Parliament building on it. There you go. If you get out of the light, you can actually see it. Mill Street Brewing, Capital Kolsch. And as you know, Kolsch's, Pilsners, Lagers, right in my wheelhouse. So if we were visiting today's destination, we might be drinking a Steam Whistle Pilsner from Steam Whistle Brewing in Toronto, Ontario, because today we're going to talk about the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, Ontario. Before we get started, let's take a look at the museum vitals. Okay, Dave, so you and I are obviously very big sports fans. We are also connoisseurs of the halls of fame of the various major sports and minor sports. I've been to a bunch of the minor ones too. We got some interesting ones on my list. But anyway, we recently did a show about the Baseball Hall of Fame and talked about how that museum and that location fit baseball perfectly. Does the Hockey Hall of Fame and all its exhibits and its honoree room of honorees, I know it's got a fancier name than that, does that fit, does that do justice to hockey the way baseball Hall of Fame fits baseball?
Well, the Hockey Hall of Fame definitely does not have that sort of small town, romantic feel to it. The Hockey Hall of Fame is big city, big splash. It is far more interactive than the Baseball Hall of Fame. There's more you can do there. If you really want to do like the goalie save thing where Gretzky will come down and shoot a puck at you and you got to stop it, or vice versa, you got to like score on Curtis Joseph or whatever. Be ready to line up because those are probably the busiest spots in the whole thing.
I can tell you, we went on a Saturday morning and we went right when it opened. There was already a line.
I actually have never done it myself. My kids have done it. My nephews have done it, but I haven't. And right around there's a little kind of gondola area where it's all like the video games, the NHL video games. Now up here, there's a special place in all of our hearts for NHL hockey, which was kind of it was one of the first EA sports games before everything had a date to it. So I think it would be like about 94.
Yeah, that's the one where you can give people concussions, right? Right? You knock them out and there's blood everywhere. And
Well, yeah, I always turn the fighting off because I was never interested in fighting and I was bad at it. So why bother?
that's why where Jeremy Roenick was probably the best player on the video.
You know what? Jeremy Roenick was the center on my team. I think he centered Alexander McGillney and Pavel Bure.
That's a pretty good line.
Yeah. So there's that. There's the TSN kind of broadcast booth area. Yep. All those are very interactive, and I don't recall anything as interactive at the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Correct. I would agree with you there.
There is a bit more of a widespread net that the Hockey Hall of Fame casts, I feel, because I feel that the Baseball Hall of Fame is essentially Major League Baseball, the Negro Leagues, and there's a little bit of the All-American girls.
A little bit of international too.
League. The Hockey Hall of Fame is very international.
Yes.
Very international. Yes. Has become more women focused with the rise of women's hockey, and specifically the Canadian American rivalry.
Yep.
All of your top, legendary women's hockey players are all members. Cami Granato and Haley Wickenheiser and Cassie Campbell, like they're all members of the Hockey Hall of Fame already. Yes. So it's a little bit more widespread, much more international, I would say. Have you ever wondered what the hockey jersey of Brazil would look like, of Team Brazil?
That was one of my favorite parts.
Go look.
The international jerseys from every country that they could get one from.
Yeah,
there were some incredible jerseys that I would love to own and have in my collection.
Yeah, and a lot of times you're walking through that and going, they play hockey. They play hockey in Mexico. They play hockey in Brazil.
Kazakhstan has a hockey team.
See, that one doesn't surprise me as much because it's right there. It's in the former Soviet Union. The one time I went, I was with our friend Lloyd Rothwell from Australia, who came up on his big baseball tour. He had to go see the Hockey Hall of Fame. Knew almost nothing about hockey. Well, a little bit about hockey, but hadn't really experienced or anything. We had to find the Team Australia hockey jersey.
Sure. So the exhibits. It's a place, as you can imagine. You could probably spend a day in there and not see everything that's there. It was just amazing, the stuff. And when you think of the National Hockey League alone, National Hockey League has been around 125 years now,
something like that.
Yeah, so they've got 125 years of history there. And some of my favorite exhibits were the old stuff. And when we call hockey jerseys, when we call them sweaters, why, after you've been to the Hall of Fame. They used to wear sweaters.
Yeah,
they didn't
used
wear
to be woolen
jerseys.
Sweaters,
I couldn't imagine playing in that. Can you imagine how bad those things used to smell?
Yeah. You're right. And it's neat to look at some of the ones that were actually game worn, and you look close, they're all sewn up. Like there were clearly holes, and they're just,
there was one.
Wasn't like today where
you
just throw it out, get a new one.
There was one, and I don't know if you'll include it in the pictures or not, but it is a jersey that's literally hanging together by a thread. It's more whole than jersey now. But yeah, there were interesting things like that, and there were very modern displays as well. So it had such a balance of old and new, as you would want in a museum that chronicles hockey worldwide.
Yeah, you want to get that old feeling. It's interesting that this, it's in Toronto, but it's interesting that this is a centerpiece of the Hall of Fame, is walking into the Montreal Canadiens dressing room.
That's right.
It's like right in the middle, and they have dressed it up to look as much like the old Canadiens dressing room at the Forum as possible. And they have, a captain's wall, and they have like lists of all the people who won Stanley Cups in which year. And it's like, can you imagine being a player walking into that? Like, how intimidating. I've got to follow this. Oh my gosh.
And yeah, being a Bruins fan myself, I still walked into that part of the display and just looked around and read the names. And of course, with either my puck collection, it's like, all right, I got him, I got him, I got him, I got him. But yeah, the list of names that went through, it's easy to see why Montreal was a dynasty for so many years. But that's not all that there is there.
No. One of probably my favorite display in the Hockey Hall of Fame is so unique to hockey. There's nothing else like it. And it's that marriage of sport and art. That is the goalie mask.
Yes, that was an incredible wall. It's a little alcove, but they have historic goalie masks dating probably as far back as the 70s when they really started to decorate them and make them unique, going down both sides of a hallway. And it's,
yeah,
we spent a lot of time there.
Who cares how good the player was in the mask? You know, like Brian Hayward, who was a serviceable goaltender, you know, his Sharks mask is iconic.
Yes.
Darren Pang, who is far more famous for being a hockey announcer than a hockey player, his Blackhawks mask with the headdress is amazing.
Yes.
And then you have ones where like guys sort of kept the same design no matter where they went. You had like Ed Belfour, who had like the Ed Belfour design with the Eagles,
yes.
or the Curtis Joseph, where it was like the Cujo the dog, and like they carried those. But yeah, there's just something about those masks that is just, it's just amazing.
And it's also amazing to see how far the technology has come in gear. I mean, just in the mask alone, thinking of the earliest mask that they had there, I think they had a Jacques Plante mask, which is basically kind of just something that kind of covered his nose, it looked like.
Yeah.
To what they have today. Really amazing. And then we were talking about the old sweaters before, but there are displays where there's a giant big old Zamboni from the Boston Garden sitting in the middle of it. And it's amazing to see what Zambonis used to look like with the track with the little shovels or whatever they were on them.
It seems to be a staple now of all Hall of Fames that you have to have a ring display with all of the various championship rings. And of course you get the push from, oh wow, this is what the ring looked like in 1972, and this is what it looked like in 2002, and this massive thing that doesn't look like it fits on your finger is 2022.
Having worn a couple of recent Super Bowl rings, yeah, I can attest. There's no way you're wearing that because your arm is going to be tired at the end of the day from holding that thing up.
Yeah. But I think probably, and the heart and soul of any Hall of Fame has to be its inductees.
Yes.
And how they display the inductees. And I would argue that the Hockey Hall of Fame has the best display for its inductees. Now, I know you said that you're partial to Cooperstown in that way. I would argue this. Well, basketball, they don't have anything anymore.
Yeah, that's really strange. What basketball,
which is weird.
They really ruin theirs.
You have the severed heads in football, and then you have the plaques.
In football, I was thinking today, when you're in that football room and it's dark and very dimly lit, and you got the heads, you expect to hear like monks singing when you're in that room. But yeah, hockey's got a very unique room.
Yeah, and you have the best sense of what that player actually looked like in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
During his playing days, yes.
Instead of a bronze thing, you have a nice sketch.
Yeah, a plaque.
Of what they actually look like. And for the most part, it's it was what do they call them? Like a helmet-free league, right? Like when you see the picture of Guy Lafleur, I mean, the only thing missing on the picture of Guy Lafleur is that his hair is down. It's not flying, right?
Right.
Or, Daryl Sittler's got the curls, or, Gretzky is, got the kind of flow or whatever. So you really get a sense of what those players look like. But even beyond that is you have not only the opportunity to see the Stanley Cup, one of the two Stanley Cups which is always there, and you can look at it and you can read the names or whatever. But you have also all of the other major trophies there: the Conn Smythe Trophy, the Calder, the Vezina, Art Ross. They're all there, and they still have names on all of them. So you want to know who won the Norris Trophy in 2015? You go look at the Norris Trophy and look for 20, and you'll see. You want to know who won the Vezina Trophy? You could see. The Hockey Hall of Fame is unique in that it was formerly an old bank.
Right.
So in the upstairs where the Great Hall is, where you find the inductees and Stanley Cup and whatnot.
That's it. The Great Hall. That's what I couldn't think of earlier.
Yes. There is this giant vault, which is obviously for where they put the money at the end of the day, or safe deposit boxes or something. And then you have the original Stanley Cup, and then the rings, because they can't just keep adding names forever. You have the rings that are put out, that are out of circulation, and you have them on display in there. And it's just the feeling is just wow. It has all the interactive stuff. So if you really want to, you're searching for someone other than Alan Eagleson, you're never going to find him there anymore. I actually asked once where the Alan Eagleson spot was, and they wouldn't tell me.
He got kicked out of the hall, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes. Well, no, he didn't get kicked out. He resigned his position before they had to make
before they kicked him out.
But yeah, he was probably going to get kicked out. Either that or Brad Park was going to pull himself out.
And a few other guys too.
Probably.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to read that book, I know Dave you have, but if any of our listeners ever get to read the book, the excellent book by Russ Conway from the Lowell Sun, Game Misconduct, chronicles how he defrauded the Players Association, and in particular, one of the legends of hockey, Bobby Orr, out of millions and millions of dollars, and actually an ownership stake in the Boston Bruins.
Yep. And Orr was the key to everything. So, I mean, he was one of the reasons why that, not that he was complicit, but his faith in Eagleson allowed Eagleson to do what he did, because he carried such weight with the other players. But anyway, I've kind of rambled on about the hall. That's here.
Right. I can't say I disagree with you, Dave. The Great Hall was great. Thank you. I would put it on a par with baseball's display. I really enjoyed it, and one of the best things about going through a room like that is looking for your favorite players. So for me, I was looking for the old Bruins. I was looking for Bobby Orr. I was looking for Ray Bourque, looking for Cam Neely, and I found Bourque and Neely right next to each other, which was really strange. But looking through the names and being there, going there with my wife, and so she's up, since she's been a big fan since we've gotten together. She was up on all the newer guys, but then getting to tell her some of the stories about some of the older guys was really cool. And yeah, she commented on how the looks have changed over the years. You can see that in the sketches. Like for some reason, every player from the 40s and 50s looked like they were 40 or 50.
Well, those guys played a long time.
Yeah. And the vault was awesome, and seeing all the old rings. And I don't know if everybody who's listening knows, but if you look at the Stanley Cup now, there's to keep it at a reasonable, what is it, about 5 feet tall, give or take?
You can only 4.
Yeah, you can only have so many rings. So if you were to have, because every year they put the winner of the Stanley Cup on it. So
and not just the team name, like all the players.
And a lot of the coaches and the executives, and the list is getting out of control for each team. But anyway, if you were to have every winner over the 100+ years of the Stanley Cup, it would be like 10 feet tall. So when it gets to a certain size, they will retire the old rings. And you can now look in the Hall of Fame, they have a display of all the old rings. So that is really neat to look back. And I think the current Stanley Cup only goes back to the 60s now, I believe.
I'm not even sure.
I could be off on that, but
could be right though.
So let's see. If I could criticize anything about the Hall of Fame, the traffic flow of it I found a little odd. You walk into a center circular display. It's got a lot of new stuff. A lot of the new honorees, I think, are featured in there, and a lot of new players. I saw a lot of stuff about Jerome McGinley, Paul Correa, guys like that. And then you can either go right, you can go left. And once you finish checking out one wing, you got to kind of come back across. Oh, I was here before, and then you go back the other way. So there's a lot of really cool displays, new stuff, old stuff. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't feel at the Hall of Fame unless you're in line for the hockey shootout or whatever, or getting your picture with the Stanley Cup. You're not going to get bogged down because there is no one right way to go through.
Right.
You can kind of go here, go there, go everywhere. The Great Hall is upstairs. Everything else is below it. So long as you hit those stairs at some point, you're going to hit the Great Hall. But there really is no specific way to go through. There's no bunch of arrows on the floor.
Some museums kind of have a flow where you just you do this and you go this way and then you go this way. Hockey Hall of Fame, you can do it the way you want to do it, and it's located it's adjacent to like a mall, right? Because there was a Tim Hortons there, and the Hockey Hall of Fame store is there.
Yeah, it's more of an office building.
Okay, yeah.
But there is some
retail space.
There is a little bit of retail, light retail, and restaurants more, but they more service kind of the office building area.
Sure.
The store is right there. The store is huge, of course. Right in front of the store is that huge bronze statue. It's actually a quite famous Canadian painting of the goalie who is just hunched down really so low. I don't even. If you're Canadian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's right there. And of course you go in the store and there's pucks, and you can get little plaque things for specific inductees, and
which were really nice, and I really struggled, and I ended up not buying it because it was a little pricey. I almost got a Bobby Orr one for the man cave.
Okay.
Decided against it. I ended up getting like a $50 puck instead. So I don't know if I really saved much money.
You're gonna have to get more walls.
Yeah, I am running out of space. I am like the Hall of Fame. I am running out of space for my displays. But it was a very positive experience. Really enjoyed my time there. When we talked about the Baseball Hall of Fame, and for those of you who like to watch the Obstructed Views, check out our episode on the Baseball Hall of Fame. We wax poetic about the surroundings. And how it just Cooperstown fit baseball. In its own way, I really think Toronto fit hockey.
Well, Toronto does have that, we're the center of the hockey universe, whether you agree or not. I mean, that's how it's perceived. As small town as baseball is, for hockey, it's big city. It's the Leafs and the Gardens, and of course there is all that small town stuff that has to do with hockey in general. But is the Hockey Hall of Fame serviced better by being in Toronto or by being in wherever, Drummondville?
I don't think hockey has I don't think hockey has an ancestral home the way baseball does. So I don't think it would fit in that small town.
Yeah, it doesn't. We don't think of it as birthed in Cooperstown, or like football birthed in Canton or anything like that. So, it was just hockey. It was just if you had frozen water, that's where hockey was.
So yeah, I guess that's our look at the Hockey Hall of Fame. Definitely 2 thumbs up from this panel, I would say. Definitely, if you are a connoisseur of the history of the sport, even if you're not, someone who's not a fan, who's a casual fan of the game, would still enjoy checking out the museum. There would not be a more colorful sports museum than the Hockey Hall of Fame, just by the jerseys. You mentioned the international jerseys before. There's something there for everyone. The women's jerseys, it's colorful, it's historic. You can learn a lot about the game. It's definitely worth your visit, and it's not going to break the bank either. So that's our look at the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, Ontario. Thanks for hanging out with us for a little while. Hope to see you on the road again real soon. Cheers.
Cheers.